Hi Hopewell, boys and girls, it's Mrs. Straub here. I'm coming to you today to talk to you a little bit about apples, one of our favorite fall units here. I think every teacher at Hopewell loves to do their apple unit in the fall. And I know you're at home right now, but there are still fun things that you could do to learn a little bit about apples since it's the apple time of year in September. This book I want to start off reading to you first. It's called Amazing Apples, and it's by Jeff Bauer, and it's a scholastic book. This is a book that's a true story. It tells facts about apples, like a science book. All about apples. Apples are crisp and round and juicy. Do you want to learn all about this amazing fruit? Read on. Apples come in many colors. There are green ones, yellow ones, and lots of red ones. And up here in the picture, it says, fun fact, there are 7,500 kinds of apples in the world. That's a lot of apples. An apple has different parts. The stem is on the top. That's right here. That's the part that hooks to the tree. The skin covers the outside. That's the colored part that could be red or green or yellow. And an apple's skin helps to protect it. When you cut an apple in half, it looks like this. The white part is called the flesh. That's the part that tastes really good and sweet to us, the white part inside the apple. The hard center is called the core, and that's where you find the seeds. We don't usually eat the core. You might have mom or dad cut up your apples sometimes, or maybe you like to eat it whole, but the core is the part that we have left when we're finished, and that's the part that holds the seeds. Apple trees. Apples grow on trees. In the winter, an apple tree rests. Sometimes the branches get covered with snow. So here's what an apple tree looks like in the winter time. It's not green, it's just branches because the leaves are not on there at that time of year and the tree is sort of sleeping. In the springtime, an apple tree is thirsty. It drinks up all of the rain that falls. The rain helps flowers grow on its branches. So the first thing you'll see when the tree wakes up, the apple tree wakes up, is you'll start to see little blossoms. They're called apple blossoms. Then it becomes summertime after spring. In the summer, the flowers turn into tiny little apples. As the tree soaks up the sun, the apples grow and grow. In this picture right here, it says this is a tiny apple. So it'll start off really tiny, and you would not want to pick and eat an apple in the summertime, in the early summertime, because it would be tiny and hard and you would not be able to bite into it. But then in the fall, like this time of year right now in September, the apples are big and juicy. That means they are ripe and ready to pick. And maybe you've been to an orchard with mom or dad before. The orchard that's close to us here, close to Hopewell, is Highland Orchard. And maybe that's somewhere that you've been before to pick apples. Eating apples. There are many ways to enjoy apples. Apple pie is yummy. It's America's favorite kind of pie. Apple sauce is yummy too. It's made from mashed up apples. That makes it easy for babies to eat. And then up here in the fun fact, it says apples are also used to make jelly, muffins, breads, and cakes. Apple juice is yummy too. The juice is squeezed out of the apples. It takes about 4 apples to fill 1 glass. But there is nothing like a plain apple. Why? Because it's shiny and sweet and simple to eat. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The end. That's the end of our apple book. And now I wanted to show you a few things about apples. I have in front of me 3 colors of apples. Sometimes there are apples, if you look in the store with mom or dad, that even look kind of pink or orangish. But a lot of times you see apples that are green, red, and maybe yellow looking. I am going to cut one of them up for you. I'm going to cut this way so you can see something. If you want to cut an apple, you need mom or dad to help you with that, of course. I'll show you what's inside. This is pretty neat. We're going to zoom in on this apple. Inside the apple, I cut into the apple sideways, a little bit different than how mom or dad might cut it for you, but to show you that inside the core of the apple, it makes a star, which I always think is really neat. And inside the star are the apple seeds. The apple star that's inside that holds the seeds has 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And an apple blossom on an apple tree has 5 petals. Let me try to find that apple blossom page for you. Here's one right here. And I think it's pretty neat because the petals come from that as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 is the magic number for an apple. Inside the apple are the seeds. Do you know what would happen if you planted these apple seeds in some dirt and then watered it? You'd have the beginning of a little apple tree. An apple, let's see, I'm trying to get these out of here so you can see. You'd have the beginnings of a sapling, of a baby tree. So that's the inside of an apple. One thing we usually do in our class this time of year is we do apple tasting. If you ask mom or dad to take you to the store and pick a couple different kinds of apples, you can cut them up and taste them and see which one is your favorite. Do you like how green apples are sour, or do you like that maybe this yellow apple? This is my favorite. I like the apples that are a little bit yellow and a little bit red. Do you like that they're really sweet? There's all different kinds of tastes, and you could experiment with that with your family and maybe do a little vote. In our class, when we do our apple unit, we have an apple tasting day, Mrs. Dobson and Mrs. Straub, and we always make caramel for our apples too, which is really fun. That's another thing you could look up with mom and dad, something to do with your apple tasting. But what we do is the kids taste the different kind of apples, and then they decide which one is their favorite. And when they're finished, we go around and we ask everybody what their favorite apple was. And we make a graph. This is called a graph. It's a chart that shows how many or how much. So if I wanted to ask, let's say I was the kid, and the teacher said to me, what was your favorite apple? I would say this yellow one would be my favorite. So then I would put something yellow, and you might not have these apple cutouts at home, and you don't have to use that. You could just use a yellow piece of paper or anything. And I would put my apple right above the yellow apple here and next to the number 1. So it would show that one person's favorite apple color is yellow. Then the next thing I would do, I'm going to ask Molly. My daughter Molly's filming me right now. Molly, what's your favorite color apple?
Red.
Molly likes red. So if I was asking in my family, I would ask Molly. She would choose red. I'd put one person in the red column of the graph. Now we're tied. You could go around and ask your brothers and sisters. You could call your grandparents and ask them what their favorite kind of apple, color of apple is, mom and dad. And once you ask a lot of people, you can see which apple color is the most favorite of most people. So let's pretend like we asked this many people and that this is what our chart looked like. Let's pretend like we did. And we asked, we would look at this row and say, how many people chose that the red apple is their favorite? We would look up here, 1, 2, 3, and slide over, and there's the number 3. That's how you read a graph. How many people said that yellow apples were their favorite? 1, 2, I'll slide over here and look at the number 2. How many people said that green apples were their favorite? Let's look and see. This looks to me like green was pretty popular. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I slide over and there's the number 4. So if I look at my graph and I say, which apple did most people like the best? The answer would be green. It's the tallest row because it had 4 people that chose it as their favorite. So that's called making a graph. And I'm wondering, my challenge for you with apples is to have a little trip to the store maybe with mom or dad to pick some apples. Have an apple tasting party at home with mom and dad and your family. Choose your favorite apple color and then see if you can make a graph. And like I said, maybe call some other people in your family too so your graph can be even bigger. That's just an activity I had for you to do with apples. One last thing that I thought would be fun. I have these in my classroom. You could make these at home. Mom or dad can make them really easy for you. And they wouldn't look exactly like this and it's fine. These are little Play-Doh mats. Mom or dad could draw on a piece of paper a couple trees, or maybe you could draw the trees, and they could put a number next to the tree. I'm gonna slide over here. And maybe if you have some Play-Doh at home, you can take your Play-Doh and put this many apples on the tree. So this tree says the number, what number is that? If you said 5, you are right. I would make 5 apples for my tree. 1. My apples are green. This is a green apple tree, like a Granny Smith apple tree. 2. Very sticky Play-Doh that I have. 3. 4, and 5. So you could play this little game at home. This is the number 6. So I would put 6 apples on that tree, and I bet you all know this number. It's a really easy one. That's number 1. That tree would only have 1 apple. So see if maybe mom or dad could make this little game for you, or you could help them make it, and you could practice some counting with apples on the tree. Okay, boys and girls, I hope you have a really good time with apples, and I hope you're doing great at home and enjoying this beautiful weather we've been having. We miss you, and we hope we can see you really soon. Take care.